Hi, my name's Steve Smith. I'm the founder of Online Chemistry Tutor and Kimmy Quiz. And I'm creating this video today because I've started work recently with a number of A-level chemistry students, some of whom are new to A-level chemistry. And the question that I'm being asked all the time is, what is the most effective method of preparing and studying A-level chemistry and for revising A-level chemistry? So I thought I'd create this video to put all of the ideas that I have in one place. Ideas that I've picked up over many years as a teacher and a tutor of A-level chemistry. So this is my video today on essential advice for effective A-level chemistry revision. The first thing I would say is, well, what do we mean by revision? Well, I understand revision as the process of assimilating and fully understanding the course material in order to be able to access the final exam questions. One of the things that I would say right at the beginning, and this applies equally well to all A-levels, not just chemistry, it really does require a different mindset in terms of the way that you work. And one of the things that you need to do and need to learn to be able to do is to work much more off your own initiative and not just wait to be asked to do something. That's a theme that I'm going to come back to time and time again. So with that idea of using your initiative in mind, here is my first piece of advice. Start today. There is a Chinese proverb that I am very fond of. It states that the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago and the second best time is now. I like this proverb because I happen to think that it's very true. It's not too early to start. Even if you are only just about to begin your A-level chemistry studies, there are things that I'm suggesting today that you can begin to put into practice, ideas that you can take forward, I hope. The second thing I would say, and this is vital, again, this applies just as well to all A-levels, you need to be very disciplined. This means that you really need to think about how you use your time. You need to plan a schedule for study. You need to stick to it. Now, as a sixth former, or as somebody who is new to studying in a sixth form or a sixth form environment at your current school, you may find that you have more freedom than you did in the past. You may find that you have some free lessons during the day. And if you have a free lesson first thing in the morning or last thing in the afternoon, you might be permitted to come into college late or to leave early, which sounds absolutely fantastic. What I would say to you is that time is a gift and it's there to be used. So I would suggest that you take the timetable that you're given by your school and you extend it to encompass those extra times at the beginning of the day or at the end of the day and use them to study and use them wisely and extend your timetable into the evenings as well and the weekends and plan your time and plan it carefully and think really carefully about what you're going to study and when you're going to study it. So how much studying are we talking about here? Well, one of the rules of thumb that I heard many times as a teacher was that for every hour that you spend in the classroom, you should be aiming for an additional hour of self-study. Now, on the face of it, that sounds absolutely horrendous. But when you think about it, it's not quite so bad, because if you're studying 3 A-levels, that would typically be about 15 hours in the classroom a week. So you have to try and find another 15 hours to take you up to 30 hours a week. It sounds like a lot, but if you break it down and you plan your time sensibly, you'll be able to reach that level of study without too much trouble. And one of the nice things about having your timetable and being disciplined and sticking to it is that you can, and indeed you absolutely should, plan time for your own hobbies. There may be things that you like to do, regular activities, whether it's exercise or hobbies or some kind of a club. You can plan that into your study time. You can make time for it and you'll enjoy it more. You'll feel like you've earned it. And those things are important for helping to maintain a healthy work-life balance and also for your physical health and your mental and emotional health. And I would absolutely recommend you do that. And every teacher should be recommending that you make time for those things, but not at the expense of your studying, of course. The plan is the key. Plan your time and you'll be able to do the things that you need to do and the things that you want to do as well. You also need a quiet place to work when you're carrying out your self-study. So it needs to be completely quiet. It needs to be free from distractions. If we start off with your school or college environment, first of all, there should be a quiet study place at that educational institution. It may be the library, it may be a designated quiet study area, and this is a place that you will be able to use during your study periods, possibly at the end of school, maybe after period 5, and perhaps, and I'll give you a moment to fully digest what I'm about to say, you could even consider going into school or college early in the morning before registration and doing half an hour or an hour of study before you begin. I appreciate that that will come as a shock to you, that suggestion. You may need a moment to recover from it. But if you're going to plan your time, you're going to be self-disciplined, this is the kind of thing you should be thinking about. You also need a place to study at home. Now, this might be a challenge because it will depend upon how much space you have at home, and it will depend on who you share your home with. So you need to involve the people that you live with in this. Discuss your study schedule with them. Agree days and times when you can work and you can study and you cannot be disturbed. And you should be able to come to some agreements about when you can use the quiet space that you have available to you if space is at a premium in your situation. Speaking of which, during these study times, you need to avoid distractions. You need to turn off your phone. You need to be disconnected from all the things that could distract you. Now, I appreciate you're still reeling from the suggestion of coming into school early to study, and now I've been really mean and hit you with the idea that you're going to have to turn off your phone. You know as well as I do that if your phone is on and it's pinging notifications at you, it's going to be a distraction. You need to disconnect yourself. Okay, so the next thing then, you need resources. Well, what do you need? Lots of things. A paper copy of the syllabus. Have this ready to go. Get them from the internet, print it out, have it as a working copy that you can edit and annotate as you go along. You can tick things off as you've done them. You can even use it as a bit of a checklist. Or you can have a separate checklist, which includes all the details of the syllabus, where you can check your progress as completed and different boxes for level of understanding as you go. Coloured cue cards are a really, really useful thing to have, because you can use these for revision purposes, for making revision notes cards. The kind of thing that I'm talking about is something kind of like that. That's the sort of thing that we're looking at here. They don't have to be coloured. They don't even need to be made of card. Any kind of sheets of paper will work. Colour pencils, erasers, colour pens for drawing on your revision cards or for general use in your lessons. Every exam board has some kind of a data sheet or a data booklet. It's well worth printing out a copy of this. It'll have the periodic table on, amongst other things. And again, making this a working copy. You might make notes on it as you go that are relevant to your studies. And if this is a document that you are looking at every day, day in, day out, you will start to memorize where those annotations are. And you will get an identical copy in your exam. Obviously, it's not your copy with your annotations. But if you are looking at a document that is identical to a document that you have, you will see those annotations, especially if you've been looking at them every day. So you could put useful information annotate your working document with useful information, and that information will almost be there with you in the exam. So I think a paper copy of the data booklet, that's a working document that you write on, is a useful thing. A glossary of key terms. A lot of chemistry is being able to recall key ideas and concepts correctly. So having a glossary is a good thing. You should be able to get one from your teacher. Another key aspect of success in any A level, but particularly in chemistry, is how well you do in the exam, of course. And some students struggle because they don't fully appreciate what the question is asking them. And part of the key to that is what we call the command word, the word that instructs you in how to answer the question. The word might be describe or explain or justify, those sorts of words, and they should point you towards a particular style of answering. Again, this is the kind of thing that should be available from your teacher. Another document which will be vital is the scheme of work. When teachers decide how they're going to teach a course, they come up with a scheme of work. It's essentially a roadmap through the particular course. It's particularly important if you have two teachers teaching the same A-level class, because they need to make sure that they're not overlapping in terms of the work and the content. So this is a really useful document to get hold of, and I would like to think that your teacher will be more than happy for you to have this, because this will help you in terms of your pre-reading and your preparation for the lesson. So for that reason, it's a good thing to have. Speaking of which, what do you do before the A-level chemistry lesson? What should you do? Well, if you have that scheme of work, then you know exactly what is going to be coming in the next lesson, and you can do a little bit of reading ahead. This is part of the initiative that I was talking about. Not just waiting for the lesson to learn things, but taking a little bit of time beforehand to do a bit of pre-reading. And this is the kind of thing that you build into your study schedule. You can assign time before lessons to pre-read, and if you have the scheme of work, you're reading the relevant material that you're about to study. It's a great way to get ahead. I can't recommend it highly enough, and you should be doing it. That's the one thing that I would say before the lesson you should absolutely be doing. How about during the lesson? Well, obvious things really, mostly logistical. You need a suitable place to sit where you can see the screen clearly and you can hear the teacher clearly. I would like to think that at A-level this is going to be less of an issue, but this will vary from class to class. If it's a big class with lots of young people, 16, 17, 18 years old, can occasionally get a bit boisterous. You've got to try and not succumb to distractions. You need to remember why you're there. You're there to study, and you're there to learn, and you're there to work. And this is where the discipline comes in again. I'm not saying you can never have any fun, but you just don't forget why you're there. You're there to work. And the other thing I would say is get involved. Don't be passive. If the opportunity comes up to answer a question, then try and answer it. If you're not sure about something, ask the teacher. It's what they're there for. You will never be told off for asking a question. Well, you should never be told off for asking a question. I'd be very disappointed if I heard that happened. What about after the lesson? Okay, well, this is where your cards come in. You can start to build up a bank of key terminology cue cards to help reinforce your knowledge of the subject matter. And the perfect time to do this is as soon after the lesson as possible, whilst it's still really fresh in your mind. On one side, you could write your key piece of terminology, and on the other side of your card, you should aim to write it as a question. Now, to help you with this process, past paper questions can be used. Past paper questions are perhaps one of the most important resources you will use in any A-level, but in particular in A-level chemistry, because they're an insight into what you can expect in your final exam. So you can use past paper questions for practice, but you can also use them for checking definitions, because you can be confident that the definition that appears in the mark scheme is what the examiner is looking for. So you can use past paper questions as part of your strategy for building up your bank of key terminology cue cards. And you can kind of take this idea in lots of different directions with the cue cards. You can use different colours for different topics. I would always recommend using pencil. Then if you make a mistake, you don't have to start again. And think about different types of questions, like what questions, how questions, why questions. What is electronegativity? How does electronegativity change down a group? Why does electronegativity decrease down a group? These are great questions to put on cue cards, because they're the kind of questions that come up in the exams, and you'll see this when you look at the past paper questions. Okay, so we covered a great deal there, a lot of different ideas for you to consider for for your A-level chemistry studies. And here is a quick recap. Start today. Be disciplined in all aspects of the way that you work in all of your A-levels, in how you use your time, in how you work in the lessons. Have places to work, both in your education establishment and at home, and have the conversations that need to be had at home in order to secure that place to work. And of course, avoid distraction. Lots of resources. Make sure that you are well resourced and well prepared to do as well as you can. Think carefully about what you do before the lesson, during the lesson, and after the lesson. So you've got your pre-reading using the scheme of work. You've got your location in the class where you're focused, you're diligent, you're listening, you're involved, you're not passive. And then there's the work after the lesson, preparing your revision and study resources, and also completing any assignments that your teacher might set for you. If you need any more help with your A-level chemistry, in particular if you want to check your progress, then KimmyQuiz.com is the place for you. KimmyQuiz is a resource, a bank of A-level chemistry style multiple choice questions suitable for OCR, AQA or Edexcel. Not only can you set yourself bespoke multiple choice A-level chemistry tests, but it will also chart and analyse your progress across a lot of different topics. So if you ever find yourself asking yourself that question, I'm not sure what to revise, this can help you. Check us out at www.kimmyquiz.com. I hope you found my video interesting and informative. I'm more than happy to receive any feedback, any comments, and I'll try to answer them as well. Thank you very much. Good luck with your A-level chemistry studies, and goodbye. For access to over 1,000 A-level examiner written questions, start your 7-day trial now via kimmyquiz.com.